and welcome to another very special episode of ClutchCast. I am Matt Schroyer, and I'm here with my good friend and project car, the Z3 Roadster. Now, this is a very special episode of ClutchCast because we are going to do an oil change on the Roadster. Now, I know what you might be saying, an oil change, that's not very exciting, but oil is the lifeblood of the car. The car can't run without it, and if you actually get that oil analyzed when you're done with it, then it can tell you all sorts of things about the condition of your motor. It can tell you about the wear of the bearings inside of the motor. It can tell you if maybe you even have a leak in the head gasket. So hopefully I don't have a leak in the head gasket. I don't think I do, but I'm interested to know, after about 3,000 miles of oil in this car, what's actually going on in there. What does the oil look like? So we're going to be sending that off to a lab later in this ClutchCast. So first things first, the oil in this car has been in the motor for about 2,200 miles, which is not a whole lot. Typically on my other cars I might go 5 or even 10,000 miles on a synthetic oil change. But really it's time to put the Z3 Roadster to bed for the winter, and I figure it's a good time to go ahead and change out that oil. Even if you don't exceed, 3,000 or 5,000 miles on that oil, it's a good idea to change that out every year. And so let me show you all the tools that I need to do that. Okay, so here's everything you're going to need to do an oil change on a BMW Z3 Roadster. So first off, you're going to need this. It's a 17 millimeter socket. This is for taking out the drain plug in the bottom of the oil pan. Yeah, some people like to do this oil change the fancy way, and which means actually purchasing a device to pump the oil up through the dipstick tube, and that's pretty awesome. But I don't mind getting underneath the car and checking everything out. So we're going to do it the old-fashioned way, and that's going to require this 17 millimeter socket. Of course, you got your ratchet to complement that. You're also going to need this 36 millimeter socket. This is for the oil filter cap on the top side of the motor, obviously. So it's a pretty big size for a socket, and I really don't know of anything else on the car that uses a 36 millimeter, so it's kind of a one-use tool. But anyway, if you know of anything else that uses this, let me know in the comments, because I'd be interested to know that. Okay, other than your socket situation, we also have our oil situation here. I'm not shilling for Mobil 1 oil. I even have a Shell motor oil sign up here in the shop because I like it. It's pretty. It's yellow. Kind of complements the green on the car. But anyway, I'll tell you the reason why I use this particular oil. One, it's 0W40 European car formula.
Well, ooh-la-dee-da, Mr. Frenchman.
Well, la-dee-da, college girl.
Well, la-dee-da, Mr. Park Avenue manicure.
Well, la-dee-da, Lady Cheaterly.
It's basically the nicest, best synthetic oil you can get, for this car at least, at a really good low price at Walmart. Now, I'm not going to shill for Walmart or anything like that. Usually when I go to Walmart, it's a harrowing experience. I park way out in the back of the parking lot so I don't get hit by a bunch of wackadoos, but it's worth it for the oil. So, yeah, Mobil 1 0W40 is what I like to use in this car. By the way, for this motor, this is the 2.5 liter M52 TUB25. You'll need 6.5 liters for that, so you have to end up getting 7 liters in total. You know how that works. Next up is, of course, an oil filter kit. It includes not only the oil filter here, but it also includes your gasket for the oil filter cap, so that stays nice and sealed. You place that every time you take it off, hopefully. And also there is a copper crush washer here, which will go on the drain plug to make sure that's nice and stopped up. It's a crush washer. You're only supposed to crush it once, and then that's it for that. Now, this is not the filter I put on last time. Last time I just went with a pretty standard MAN oil filter, and that was because, I bought that along with some other stuff online, I think from Turner Motorsports or FCP Euro. When I'm at Walmart and I'm looking for filters, I look at this on the shelf, and it's the nicest filter, and the filter's kind of below this grade I really wouldn't want to put in this car. They didn't really look nearly as nice, not even as nice as the standard man oil filter. And if I'm just gonna buy a oil filter, what this costs maybe $8. If I buy the man filter, I'm gonna have to pay shipping on that. Basically, you're saving money by going to the K&N oil filter on the shelf at the Walmart. You know, if you want to avoid that shipping and handling. So it ended up actually being cheaper than going with the standard filter. Go figure. Last but not least, this is a very important part of at least my oil changing ritual. This is a canister from Blackstone Oil Analysis, and inside of this is a little receptacle that we'll be using to capture just a little bit of oil that comes out of the bottom of that oil pan, and we're sending it back to the lab. They'll come back with a whole bunch of interesting information about the potentially the water content in the oil, which you don't want water in your oil, the fuel content in your oil, which, you know, tells you something about if you're perhaps burning a little bit richly in there, and also kind of the metal content of the oil, which tells you something about how that motor is wearing. So again, we're going to sample that oil, send it off to Blackstone Labs. We're going to get back an oil report, and we're going to compare that oil report with the previous oil report I got from this car a year ago, and I am hoping that the report is a little bit better than what we had last year. When I originally got the car, it kind of had mystery oil in it, probably from CarQuest, but probably not as good as the Mobil 1 synthetic. And the wear indicators, the metal content of that oil sample was quite high. So, you know, I'm hoping this is the first full year it's been using this Mobil 1 synthetic oil, and in my care, at least. So I'm hoping the test comes back a little bit more positive this time, but we'll see. Anyway, that's the core components, your oil sample kit, your oil filter kit, your oil. That's about it for now. Let's go ahead and let's drain the oil from underneath the car. There's just a few more things to do. Very importantly, I got my sample for Blackstone Labs already. I'm going to be mailing that off. But there's also one very important thing you should do on a BMW when you are changing out the oil. and that is to reset the service indicator on the dash. So right now the car is on, well, at least the accessories are on, motor's not running. I've got the 20-pin connector going there underneath the hood all the way to my handy-dandy laptop, and we're going to go ahead and use this program. This is INPA, and reset that service indicator. So we're going to select our car here. That is, of course, the E36 Z3 with F2. So in this menu, you want to scroll down to Body to get to the correct submenu. And from here, we want that, let's see, instrument cluster. That should be it right there. Let's just use tab over and go down and select instrument cluster. Okay. Now we're in the instrument cluster submenu. It's a little bit cryptic here to actually get to the spot where you can reset that service indicator, but it's all the way down here in Activate, which is F6. Okay, now that we're under the Activate submenu, we have a number of options to choose from. F1, mileage indicator reset, reset oil service, reset time inspection, and reset distance inspection. You can also activate self-tests, analogs, digital, print screen, and some other stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and hit F1 for mileage indicator reset. And then F2 for reset oil service, reset 3 for time inspection, and F4 for distance inspection. So I pressed all those F keys off screen, and now I guess we just exit and turn the car off and then back on again to see what happens. And lo and behold, look at this. I didn't even have to turn it off, but that down there is the service indicator, and I see a whole lot of greens. Let's just turn this back off and test it. Taking the key out, putting it back in, turning the accessories back on. Voila! A reset service indicator. That's pretty cool. Drain the oil, we plug the oil pan, we removed and replaced the oil filter, and put in new fresh oil and refresh the service light. That means it is time to send out our handy-dandy Blackstone Labs oil sample to see what this oil looks like after a little over 2,000 miles. I don't know, but I would like to know. Obviously, if you haven't done a Blackstone oil analysis yet, you might not have one of these nifty containers. It's pre-marked with postage, so you don't even have to pay any postage for it. And the way you get these is you go online to their website at blackstone-labs.com, and you just request these. There's instructions in there too about how to do everything. You write down all the basic info about the car on a slip enclosed in the in this little package here, along with the oil sample. You seal it up, you send it in, and on the website you actually put in your credit card information to actually order the sample, so that when the sample arrives to Blackstone Labs, they have the money ready to go ahead and process your order. It does add a fair bit of cost to your oil change, but if it's a car that you really like, it can really give you a good indication of how it's doing. And for a lot of people, that's some good peace of mind. So that's primarily why I do this, you know. I want to know that the Roadster is happy, is a happy car. And so hopefully that's what this sample will tell me when I send it off to Blackstone Labs. So I'm going to go online and put in my order and send it through the mail. And we're back! The results, please. Good work with your Z3. Lead dropped to just 3 parts per million this time around, and that shows genuine improvement in bearing wear. Sure, the shorter oil changes helped, but we don't think it deserves all the credit. Iron and copper are down some too. They weren't excessive by any means last time, but we'll always take less metal. The changes in molybdenum and most of the elements from boron down are just from the switch from conventional oil to Mobil 1, so no harm there. Not even a trace of fuel found this time. Feel free to run back out to 5,000 miles again if you'd like. So just going down some of the actual numbers here in the test, it looks like indeed a big decrease in iron from 14 parts per million down to 6. The universal averages across most cars of this type that Blackstone has in its database is 10. Not just better than the CarQuest oil, but also better than the universal average as well. Copper down from 9 parts per million to 3 parts per million. That's great. Probably one of the biggest improvements is here in lead. This raised a red flag last time during the first oil test that I had done on this car. 14 parts per million of lead in the oil sample, down to just 3. The universal average is just a bit higher at 4, so that's very exciting. Everything down from boron on down is all about additives in the oil, and as you would suspect, many more additives in the synthetic Mobil 1 oil. Much more boron, much more calcium, less sodium, interestingly, and more magnesium, more phosphorus, and more zinc even. There are some other things that Blackstone Labs tests for as well, including the viscosity of the oil. Last time the number was lower, this time it was higher. The flash point also raised a red flag last time. 375 degrees Fahrenheit was the flash point. This time it went up to 385, so the oil is better at handling heat, basically. Down here it even has something about the fuel content, fuel percentage, only a trace amount of fuel found in the original sample, and this year's sample less than 0.5%, and it says here that the values should be in a healthy motor with healthy oil less than 2%, so not an insignificant amount of fuel. But I kind of anticipated that because, well, we put a new tune on it that actually did enrichen the fuel-air mixture. So altogether, a very positive report. I am very happy with this, and I'm glad I used Mobil 1 oil again. But yes, very happy with these results. So I learned a lot today, and hope you did too. That's it for me this time. I want to thank you for joining me, and we'll see you down the road.